Stephen Jules Radio Show.
Yeah. Hello, Wisdomers. I'm back here for you right now. It sure feels good to be back. Right. Last night, oh my god. Oh my god, the heat wave we've had. It was just so hot. Like, oh man. I don't know, you just never. You don't really get a good night's sleep in the heat for some reason. I don't know why. But I've never been a summer person. But it hit 40, at least over 40 degrees yesterday. Oh, fucking hell. But, nah. You just do your best to acclimatise to it. But yeah, there's a heat wave in Australia. I mean, there's always been heat waves in our island nation for years and years and years and years and years before I was even born. So that's how it is today as well. Just something we just got to acclimatise to, and can't control it. No matter how much the media will complain and whinge about it, it will just, you're never going to end a heat wave, ever. Yes. But the KFC Big Bash League has kicked off already. Glenn Maxwell has had high expectations on him to performed so well in the World Cup this year in India. Pretty much batting on one leg, cramped up very bad, and scored a double hundred in a one-day international. It was a very good cricketer, but he had an injury scare against the Brisbane Heat in the first game. And Usman Khawaja, opening partner with Colin Munro, they put on 43 off the new 4-over power play. I don't know, cricket's always changing their rules all the time. We're talking 2020, this is not a 50-over game. Pakistan players Claire Harris, Rolf and Usman Mir cleared to play in Australia in the Big Bash if they get selected as well. So, I mean, these guys have played a lot of cricket. They're playing at an international level of cricket. They played the Ashes this year, the Australian team. They've played so much cricket, it's, I think there are some Australian players sitting out of the Big Bash. That's up to them if they do play or not. Obviously, you've got the Test series matches coming up. And yeah, it's looking forward to the summer cricket already. But it's just nice to see the Big Bash League kicking off. And it's just good that I do think that I think that the Big Bash League, they've reduced their games for some reason. Like, they used to have a more longer schedule. I wish they'd bring that back. That's up to the KFC Big Bash to decide on that. How many games are played during the season. I mean, these guys, like I said, are playing a lot of cricket all year round. It's pretty much a full-time job. I know Steve Smith was back in the Sydney Sixers lineup as well. But yeah, it's looking forward to a summer ahead of cricket. I was watching a bit of the Bangladesh versus New Zealand, the second test on day one. Now the pitch, right, was pretty much a heaven. I mean, it was like a spectacular pitch for a spin bowler. The spin on day one, New Zealand. I think was it day one? Yeah, it was day one. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But New Zealand able to bowl out Bangladesh and use their spin bowlers, and their bowling attack was so good with the amount of maiden overs. The batsmen were struggling against spinners. This pitch was a spinner's pitch. And if you don't know for what the pitch is, it's usually the ground right in the middle of the ground. It's usually dry. I think it's just dry turf they use. We're talking like high quality pitches, and yeah, the spinners were just fantastic. They were just turning the ball. So New Zealand bowled out Bangladesh on the first day, a very low score because it was just so much spin. Then Bangladesh head into the attack, and New Zealand, started to lose wickets because of the pitch. It was spinning so much. Batsmen were struggling just to get runs. And this is where you get spin bowlers into the attack, because if they can get your wickets quick, not relying on your fast and your quicks, then that's fantastic. Well, it just was not easy to bat on that surface at all. And I take my hats off to the batsmen who wanted to score the runs and keep the game going. But that's Test cricket. You get many different types of surfaces. They've got drop-in wickets now, dry wickets, grass wickets. Yeah, I'm just looking at a rainbow lorikeet out there. Nice bird. Nice birds they are. Actually, two of them on top of the tree. Yeah, so you've got those types of wickets as well that they definitely can impact the game. Although I would have liked to see in that match Bangladesh put on a high score, but it just happened to be that day where the pitch was just turning, and the spin bowlers were very brilliant in the attack as well. Yeah, but as I said before, the heat wave in Sydney now, it's not the first time we've had a heat wave. It's meant to cool down next week, which is good. It's just don't like when it's like hot in the night time as well. We have been given a heat wave warning from the Bureau of Meteorology weather app as well. So that's it's very important during the heat wave. I mean, you just got to stay hydrated and keep yourself as cool as you can, because dehydration and heat stroke is very dangerous, and that's not good. And you just got to be hydrating yourself. Yeah, water is preferred, but even if you're sweating a lot, it's good to drink some electrolytes like Powerade or Gatorade to get the salt into you, because heat stroke's very dangerous. And this goes out for all my listeners to just stay hydrated and put sunscreen on. and slip, slop, slap is all you can do. But yeah, that's summer in Australia for you. We haven't had a dry, hot day in the last 2 years because it was always raining. It was nice last week. We had a bit of rain to help, because that's what we need. But it's just something I've got to learn to accept that it's here, and we learn to adapt. There's obviously hotter places on Earth. If you go out in Udanada, Australia, people literally live underground because it's just so hot there, But this is the desert, or if you go to the Northern Territory, or it feels like 50. Man, it's so humid in the wet season now. Man, I've been there, and this is Australia for you. Very hot, very very hot. But this is summertime. 21.8 degrees Celsius. We've got a heat wave warning. Feels like 22.4 degrees Celsius. Minimum of 20. Top of 29 degrees Celsius. 0 to 1 millimeters of rain. Cloudy today. Yay! South-southwesterly 11 kilometers an hour wind, 15 kilometers an hour gust, 78% humidity, 0 millimeters of rain since 9 a.m. Yesterday, 25% low chance of at least 1 millimeter. Sydney, Australia, cloudy, slight chance of a shower, the chance of a thunderstorm during this afternoon and early evening. Wind southerly, 15 to 25 kilometers an hour, turning southeasterly in the middle of the day, then becoming south to southeasterly and light in the late evening with a moderate fire danger rating. Yesterday was a total fire ban. Of course, it was very hot and dry. 5:40 a.m. sunrise, 8:01 p.m. sunset, warning crescent moon phase, new moon 13th of December, next moon phase, 11 extreme max UV index, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. sun protection recommended. Tomorrow, sunny, partly cloudy, a low of 20 degrees Celsius, top of 31, no rain. Tuesday, sunny with showers predicted, low of 19 degrees Celsius, top of 30 degrees Celsius, 0 to 1 millimeters of rain. Wednesday, sunny, partly cloudy, a low of 18 degrees Celsius, top of 32 degrees Celsius, no rain. Thursday, sunny with showers, a low of 19 degrees Celsius, top of 36 degrees Celsius, 0 to 1 millimeters of rain. Friday, sunny with showers, a low of 20 degrees Celsius, top of 30 degrees Celsius, 0 to 2 millimeters of rain. Saturday, sunny, partly cloudy, low of 19 degrees Celsius, top of 35 degrees Celsius, 0 to 1 millimeters of rain predicted for the forecast of that day. And I wanted to say, yesterday, Endeavour Energy decided to have a fucking power outage on a 40-degree day. I'm serious. All of a sudden, it's like literally, it was 40, and then the electricity switched off. There was a power outage. Not only that, there was probably about quite a lot of customers in my area that were pissed off. Yeah, how could you do that on a 40-degree day and have a power outage? What? I was pissed. You would be too. I mean, you're paying for your electricity, and then power outage happens. And then they said it was going to be restored by 4 o'clock. So the power outage happened at about 11 a.m. roughly, if I can recall. This is what I'm going back to. Around that time yesterday, but people listening in my area will know that Yeah, we did have a power outage. And not only that, it's like, dude, where's common sense? It's like a 40-degree day, and you got a power outage, so no one had electricity. So just say from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. That well, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would have been 5 hours. Had no electricity on a 40-degree day, and then I decided to go out and run some errands. Right, so I was like, oh fuck this, I'm not staying home. I think I was only gone an hour and a half. I come back an hour and a half, it was turned on, and that was like, oh, phew. Because you just cannot be doing that. Please, you just cannot do that to people. Um, some people are very heat sensitive. I know myself, I've never enjoyed the heat. I prefer the cold, but some people with pre-existing medical conditions are affected by the heat. I mean, that's just un-Australian, guys, to do that. I mean, Endeavour Energy should not be having power outages. They are supposed to be a reliable service. You're paying for your electricity, which is a utility, and then a power outage. Like, what? People are pissed. And I'm certainly pissed at that too, as well. So, we just cannot be having those power outages in Australia as well, because that's just not cool. That's un-Australian. COVID-19 is rising during the Christmas holidays. If you can, go get your booster shots. I've already had my 5th booster shot because of the new era strain. And Boris Johnson leads a COVID inquiry. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. He was attending parties during the lockdown. I mean, he should be admitting to his own mistakes and failure of what he did. He told everyone to stay home, and yet politicians were able to go and party during lockdown. No wonder why he caught it. I think he caught it 2, 3 times. Well, he should just own up to his mistakes and move on. Formula One, as you know, I'm a fan of Formula One. Daniel Ricciardo, as well. I think he wants to end his career on Red Bull as well. But such a great driver, Daniel Ricciardo. He's Australian and he's able to drive with the best of the best for Red Bull. Yeah, that's my favourite team as well. But the Mercedes boss, Toto Wolff, is denying his investigation. Something's obviously gone wrong with Mercedes in the Formula One. I don't know why things happen in Formula One. What I don't get with Formula One cars, they're so aerodynamic, they're so fast, but yet as soon as they touch, like a minor touch, things just break. I mean, this is car racing, for instance, and some of the drivers are bitching and complaining, oh, he's overtaking me. I mean, this is car racing. The only problem with these cars is they're so... If they were to make them stronger, this is my opinion, if they were to make these cars stronger and there was to touch, when you bump into each other when you're racing, this is car racing, alright? Then you're not going to have so many drivers having to retire on the first lap of a car race because, at the start, it's the most, that's when it's the most chaotic because they're going to bump into each other. And then you're not going to have drivers whinging and complaining. I know Max Verstappen likes to have his rant on the radio. I'm always hearing, and he's overtaking me. But this is car racing, guys. You're going to overtake. You guys are going to bump into each other. If they make the cars more stronger, even if they're less aerodynamic, you're not going to see as many parts flying around and having to clean up, and so many safety cars. And, to keep the race going. This is car racing. That's my opinion. They should be making the car, even V8 supercars, all race cars, stronger. But yeah, you'll lose a bit of aero, but at least if you bump into each other, you're not going to have things go missing. That's the problem with them. They're too light. But that's how they're built, because it's all aerodynamic. They need to make them fast. I mean, these cars are pushing 300 kilometers an hour in Formula One at least. That's pretty standard every race. They'll hit that easily. I mean, they're so quick now, and as you notice, they have to have like a roll bar. They never used to, but I mean, everything's weight in Formula One. If a driver can take off 500 grams of the steering wheel, they'll do everything they can to make it as light as possible. But like I said, the only problem with that is, yeah, as soon as you bump into someone, things break. But no, the FIA is always changing all the time. Cars are improving, certainly improved since I watched it as a kid. And if you watch old Formula One racing videos when I was a kid, and different engines. But this is car racing. Car racing is very hard as well. Yeah, there's a lot of dirty drivers in the business that should be dealt with, but I don't know. I don't know. Um, yeah, that's just how it is. But Max Verstappen, he's had 20 career race wins. This is amazing. He's an amazing driver, actually, from Red Bull. He does perfect, I could say. I mean, nothing's perfect, but it's perfect. I just think, car racing should not go soft on people, because people stop watching it. They start bringing too much politics into it and start penalising drivers 5 seconds for something minor. People are going to be like, oh, fuck this. We're not going to bother anymore. This is car racing. So, this is what people are paid to see. Entertainment, of course. Although it is a hard sport, Formula One, but I think it was the Qatar race this year where it was very, very hot. I don't know what heat regulations are in Formula One. If it gets a certain temperature, they have to suspend a race. I don't know. That's up to the Formula One to decide. But if you don't know, in V8 supercars, the drivers wear like a cool vest. But in Formula One, because the cockpit is so small, it will not fit the drivers to have a cool vest, and they're pushing it. And because if it gets too hot for these cars, it's too dangerous. They will overheat, and especially in sprint racing, the drivers were just exhausted, and some had to retire because it was too hot for their bodies to handle it. But that's up to the Formula One to decide on what heat regulations. I would think that they don't put dry ice or some kind of air into the car, at least on a very hot day. I mean, I would. Um, I know drivers are pushing it so fast that they use up all their drink bottle, and they're not changing it, and that's where dehydration and heat stroke comes in, and that's dangerous, especially in car racing. It's very hot in that cockpit. It's like 50 degrees in there, and it's very, very exhausting on the body as well. And that's why they've got to be very fit. And again, it comes to hydration, hydration, hydration. And depending on the climate you go, even in Australia, hydration as well. But Spotify this week decided to lay off a lot of employees for the streaming service. Now, I've had my rants about Spotify. I think I've written an article about Spotify not paying the musicians the royalties that we deserve. And I'm sad to say I've walked away from Spotify because if the streaming service, this is why my alternative is Tidal Music. I'd rather pay extra in Tidal Music to support musicians for royalties, and that way get better sound quality. Spotify got successful because they were able to market themselves very well. They have I'll tell you, a very good marketing strategy. The problem is when I used Spotify a few years ago, I was a Spotify user. They had a very better price. I think it was $9.99 a month. But then as inflation hit, the company decided to put their price up. And I'm thinking, well, hang on, this is a streaming service. You've promised an affordable rate for customers, and then you're putting your prices up. And now you're deciding to lay off employees. So you're sacking them, basically. A lot of the tech companies have done that. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn have sacked a lot of software developers to cut back. Now, I never thought, like 10 years ago, that this was going to happen with big tech corporations. The pandemic, of course, has caused it. Inflation. Overheads do go up, but for Spotify to be sacking workers, I mean, come on. And not only that, when you were a subscriber to Spotify, they decide to put their own advertising, like sponsored ads, and I fucking hate that. And I cannot stand when I'm trying to watch Formula One on YouTube, every like 1-2 minutes, I'm getting a fucking ad. I really hate that. I'm fed up with it, getting bombarded with advertising. It's just unacceptable for the tech companies to be doing that stuff. But yet, yeah, I don't know, that's my rant about technology companies these days just not pulling their weight around, and it's just unacceptable. Very, very unacceptable. If you're in property by any chance and you've heard of Strata as well, I don't know, Strata's always got fees every year, and I mean, I don't know too much about real estate, but I know it's got something to do with real estate where, yeah, I don't know, whole real estate market's gone to shit as well. NDIS review, as you know, I'm always talking about the NDIS. I'm on the NDIS. It needs to improve their service. I think the NDIS needs to be covering more medical, dental, optical for people with disabilities. At least that, because that is an essential service. Medical treatment, surgery, it should be covering. I just don't like it when government departments want to play politics with people's money on disabilities and say, "Oh no, you can't have this because we can't cover you." That gets me very angry, and it's always a shit fight with government departments. My aged care, the NDIS, and oh my god, it never ends. But you just got to learn. You can't let it get to you. I remember the early days of the NDIS, having all sorts of fucking providers cold calling, "Hey, we're going to promise you this and promise you that," and getting, you get cold calls from all these people just coming over. You'd sign all this paperwork, but it was getting you nowhere. I'm talking when this scheme first started. And it's written in such a complicated way. Oh my god. I don't know who wrote this, but you wonder why people get angry and go off their heads, because if it's written in like a way that for say a lawyer to understand it. Like, how can you write a document, a housing system to so complicated, and you read it and you're like, what? Again, this is a government department for you in Australia, so it's important to fight for your rights, stand up for your rights, not let yourself be pushed around by these bastards. Especially people with disabilities need help, and there's dodgy providers out there scamming people. You read in the Daily Telegraph, and I'll keep saying it on this show, that Bill Shorten's cracking down on it, and good on him, because I'm fed up of people not getting the help that they're promised. Healthcare wise, it needs to improve. I know it's not a luxury service, but there are dodgy providers ripping the NDIS off, and they will be getting caught as well. It's like the investigation from ACMA into Telstra, because they're overcharging customers constantly on purpose, and Telstra or NBN is pretty much an essential service now. Again, that's very un-Australian, and I hope ACMA deals with Telstra and takes legal action against I'm sick of it, because Telstra advertised on the NRL, oh, this is footy country, we're defending cyber threats. Welcome to footy country. Bullshit. And yet you're ripping people off. And you ring customer service, they're in the Philippines. Don't get me started on it. But, no, it's good that the government needs to regulate it, and Telstra need to help people during financial hardship, because if they're not, then that's a service. Well, unfortunately, we've got to use Telstra where we are, and there's things I've not been happy about them, and at one point they were the best telecommunications service in Australia, but what the hell's happened? So you got Optus failing, you got Telstra failing. Where do we go? As well. But, again, essential service. The government knows this. The NBN's essential. They'll put the prices up. I've said it before, during inflation. I don't know. That's my rant. This is why Australia has gone crazy. Part 2. That's why we, I don't know. Really don't know anymore what to do. But Woolworths was actually warned by the government not to raise their prices during the Christmas holidays and price gouge. And they were, when inflation hit, Coles, Woolworths, Aldi were putting their prices up. Was that when inflation was at 5.4%? I could be wrong, so please correct me. All the shops and food and essential items went up, and you have to eat. It's essential. Yes, you've got to have water. You've got to eat food, and it's like, well, people, can't be relying on food stamps forever. And we look back in the Great Depression. Wasn't it a signs that we were going to head that way? People lining up for food, and it's quite sad. I've actually been there myself, and I'm very thankful, and I have my gratitude for charity organisations giving out food hampers, and I give it my huge thank you. But it goes to show the government how, not only that, it was the war in Ukraine when Vladimir Putin decided to invade the Ukraine. That did put gas prices up as well. But like I said, I always found when Donald Trump was president, ScoMo was prime minister, petrol prices were much better. Food was at a better price. Utilities were at a better price as well. The cost of living was much easier. Um, the Reserve Bank, or the interest rate was at 2 to 3%. It was so much great. People were outspending, keeping the economy going. That's what we got to do. Because if you keep putting inflation up to the point where it gets too expensive, and we've seen it, a lot of small businesses, small cafes have had to close because they just cannot afford the overheads. Are so expensive to keep those overheads running, to pretty much keep the place open. And it's not fair for a small business to pay more tax than a corporation. That's not fair. So, and yeah, I'm just getting fed up. It's like what happened with Woolworths. There was Ray's traditional plum pudding. It was I think it was 2.3 kilograms, $80 at Coles and Woolworths. So this manufacturer begins in the 1930s, okay? But for 2.3 kilograms of $80 for a traditional plum pudding is price gouging. Now, I'm fed up with that. They think that, they can jack the prices up for, essential items and price gouge. No, that's illegal, you know that. I remember when the rapid antigen tests were coming around in Australia, okay, and they were price gouging them. So you think, well, what the hell? How is this possible? They're price gouging our essential items right now. Again, this is our Australia we're living in. The times of Gough Whitlam. Paul Keating was one. The interest rate when Paul Keating was Prime Minister was around 17%. And this was the 90s, I believe. I was a kid. I didn't pay attention to this stuff. But now getting older, getting wiser, having more intuition. You can disagree with me on this, and that's fine. You are allowed to. I say things as they are. I want to keep freedom of speech. And, yeah, it's... that's just how it is. It's like the airline companies, Bonza, okay? They swapped a flight from Melbourne to the Gold Coast. They've got staff shortages, and they cancel from Gold Coast to Melbourne, and 400 customers are affected by the cancellation at last minute. So what the hell's going on with the airlines? The Virgin, Qantas have gone to shit. Richard Branson can fuck off as well. Alan Joyce can fuck off as well. Because these CEOs of these companies are making so much money, so much profit, but they're not giving a good service to people to travel. And they're price gouging the tickets in Australia. It is literally more expensive to get a domestic flight in Australia from Sydney to the Gold Coast than it is to travel to Bali. Virgin Airlines, Jetstar, Qantas, cancelling last minute without telling customers, overcharging credit cards, okay, trying to rip people off, cutting back on jobs. Since this has happened, I will not fly these companies anymore. I will not fly Qantas. I will not fly Jetstar. I will not fly Virgin Airline because how can I trust you? You see, I've seen it on Instagram. Those Qantas workers just chucking baggage and not caring. I don't trust you. Apparently, from the reviews I've had, is Etihad's good and Air New Zealand. You should deserve to fly, and I've had this. When I flew from Sydney to Los Angeles quite a few years ago, the staff on Virgin Airlines were just rude, and they just gave a shit service. This was like 2018, and I'm thinking, how come I'm flying on an aircraft in economy? It's cramped up, it's uncomfortable, you can't get a good night's sleep, and they just don't care. The airline companies, they don't care. They just want to make as much money to put everyone into cattle class. Um, you should deserve when you fly to have a good service. Actually, when I flew LATAM Airlines to New Zealand, they were very nice. LATAM had nice space in economy, had good room. The plane was quiet. They're coming back from New Zealand to Australia. I was in Qantas, and yeah, it was very cramped up for 3 hours. I think, is it 3 hours it takes? Yeah. Oh boy. I don't know why they make the aircraft smaller, but they just do. They don't care. I wish they bring back the old 747s. You had room on those things. Not only that, that fucking airport now is, oh my god, pain in the ass to get through customs. Oh my god. But that's the airport now. I only use it if I have to use it, but this is how the world is. Yeah, again, that's my rant. Alan Jones, this week, he had some allegations from former employees from 2GB, and apparently Alan Jones is suing the Sydney Morning Herald for defamation. Now, I listen to Alan Jones. I've enjoyed ADH TV from Australian Digital Holdings since he's gone live on that. He left Sky News Australia because he wants to protect freedom of speech. Now, I'm supporting Alan Jones. I think Alan Jones has a lot to offer, a lot of knowledge in politics. Obviously, the left, I think this is their games they play, and they want to stir up trouble as well, so they go on, publish an article in the Sydney Morning Herald. I used to read the Sydney Morning Herald, but if they're going to, I've stopped, because if they're going to start stirring up trouble and drama, they're only going to lose readers, and they're going to get sued. And he's had to sue them for defamation. It's like Russell Brand. These ladies want to come out with allegations. As far as I know, Alan Jones was not investigated by the police. At this stage, there's no evidence to back it up. There has to be evidence in a court of law, but it's like ABC has faced sexual harassment claims, but yeah, they're the first to cover up their own dirty filth that's going on in the ABC and play the games of the scare tactics and start defaming people from other stations. I mean, this is, how come? Yep, they want to deny it as well, and that's just not right. That's our ABC in Australia these days. Latest COVID wave is the Omicron subvariant EG5, Eris, and BH2.86 Parola. The new vaccines that have been approved by Pfizer and Moderna, I got the Pfizer XBB.A.5 was approved by ATAGI. I think it's good that they're improving these vaccines, and they want to improve them. I know when they first came around, I had the two AstraZenecas, and they were rushed at the time. They only were produced in 1 year. I mean, I would hope that these mRNA vaccines, I don't know if they're going to put them in your yearly flu shot. It's your choice to have them. But that's, we just have to live with this thing. It's not going away. It's more affected mental health more than it's done physically, what it's done to the mind. I know for me, I've been affected a lot by COVID, and I have low immunity to it as well. But we must hang in there and stay strong too. As you know, we've got a very, very broken foster care system in Australia. I cannot stress this out enough because when I was young, I nearly ended up in the system um, due to parents' negligence as well, and it saddens me and it affects me. This is why I bring this up. Now, I don't talk a lot about my personal life on the show, but I'm quite happy to talk about this issue because, you know, for a 14-year-old girl to get pregnant in the foster care system is devastating to me. To me, that's traumatic. Kids being neglected, abused, evil predators who are fostering kids, and you know, pedophiles in the system as well who take kids on. When kids are in the hands of the government, they could end up anywhere, and it's very sad. It's disgusting. And people who do cowardly things like that should rot in a jail cell and get their head bashed and then end up someone's bitch in there for being a coward. Because people who do cowardly things like that, there's severe consequences, and you do that sort of stuff, then I hope you get your head bashed in and you just rot in there. No one cares about you. This is the broken foster care system in Australia. Kids are living in motels. Now, I would hope that now that they would have a police check on foster care parents, because you don't know where these kids are going. These are not the biological parents. This is the hands of the government, and Dr. Phil's right. Kids who have to grow up in the system are 10 times likely to uh, end up committing crimes and in jail, on drugs, homeless on the streets, teenage pregnancy. Yes, this is happening. This is what um, needs to be talked about. Evil predators out there who are doing it because they're just plain evil. So this is why I need to bring this up, because this affects me. I could have ended up in this system because of negligent parents who do not give a shit. Unfortunately, at times, if the parents have severely neglected the kids because the parents are feeding their drug alcohol habit, okay, the police have no choice. I would hope the police would put the kids in, say, an uncle, grandparents, where it's a biological family first, instead of the government system. Now, the police don't want to do that. They don't want to talk about that. You know, sometimes they've got no choice for the welfare people to take the kids away. And it is very sad to take kids away from biological parents, but unfortunately, the parents are just neglecting them, abusing them, going hungry. I've been there too, yes. And unfortunately, that's what they have to do, and it's a very bad system and something that I get emotional about. Um, you know, I think that yeah, so it's something that I get very emotional talking about. Then it's something that the foster care system in Australia is a system the government needs to improve, because it's quite it saddens me a lot as well. It really does. But McDonald's this week has been hit with a class action lawsuit. The fast food corporation, McDonald's, there's $100 million class action lawsuit against the corporation because they were underpaying workers. Not only that, the rostered shift very shit hours. Um, asking people to start early, stay back, and not paying them. And this is what corporations are doing. Not only that, the food has gotten smaller and the quantity sizing smaller at McDonald's and Hungry Jack's. And this is why I'm pissed off. And this is not good. This is a quote from the Daily Telegraph as well. People were underpaid for work before and after their shifts. So in Australia, there are laws about you have to pay your workers, and for a corporation to do this stuff is not fair as well. So guys, if you subscribe to my podcast, the Stephen Shields Radio Show, you get notifications every Friday at 6 p.m. Sydney, Australia time. It helps the show grow. It helps my podcast get to more people, and the more listeners I have, the more I can have a positive impact on you. If you share the podcast on your social media, this is a good way, or you tell people word of mouth, friends, family, etc. It really helps the podcast grow and helps me grow as well. I've really enjoyed the journey, and really helps because I believe in freedom of speech, and I say things as they are on this show as well. So it really helps me grow. Also, too, I've published a new single called The Quest. That's on Spotify, but I encourage people to buy it from Bandcamp because it supports me and it's able to help me get new equipment for the show. And if you could do that, that would be wonderful as well. You're supporting independent artists. In local area, there's a new Audi store that was built in Oran Park. I went in there yesterday. It was a nice big store as well. It had good air conditioning, a lot of variety of food and beverages. Leppington Shopping Village has opened too. So, but the only problem with Leppington Shopping Village is the parking is too small. There's a new fire station going to be built in Busby. I don't know how many years it's going to take as well. And Hunter Biden's facing 9 new criminal charges that he has spent on his luxurious lifestyle as well. But that's what the Democrats do. But that's all from me today, guys. Please like, share, subscribe to the Stephen Shields Radio Show. Turn on your notifications. I publish new podcasts every Friday at 6 p.m. Sydney, Australia time. Bye for now.